Hey everyone, and welcome to APW Breaks. Today I am going to take you through the process that I use to set the prices for Pick Your Team Break. If you're not familiar with the two main types of breaks that people do, there are random breaks and there are Pick Your Team breaks. Random breaks are breaks where everybody's team choice is randomized and the cost to participate is just evenly split through the break for each slot. Versus pick your team, you need to set the price based off of the relative value of the team and the checklist. So today, I am going to show you how I set the team prices. The break that we are setting the price for today is a 4 hobby box break of 2023 Topps Stadium Club Baseball. The total cost of this break is $456. So the way that we start with any team break is you need to look up the checklist. I like to use Beckett for looking up these checklists because Beckett at the bottom of their checklist page separates everything out into base, variations, autographs, inserts, and then at the very end they have team sets, which is extremely useful. So basically they separate all the different types of cards out by team, and so you can then use this to help you determine the overall value of what the cards are worth. So the first thing that I do when I am setting up a team break is I go through and I count each type of card, the number of cards for each type of card for each team. So for Stadium Club, you see there's 1991 variation, 91 variation auto, etc. And you can get those from the Beckett website for the team setups. And so as you go through, what I use these values and numbers for, I use them to set up sort of like a base value for the number of cards that you get. So basically this value will help show uh, what the overall value of the team is just based on the card count. So I total everything up and I designate each type of card as either a base card, an insert card, a short print card, or an auto card. Uh, the reason I do this is because base cards versus inserts versus short prints versus autos have different values when you're looking at the resale market. Base is obviously the lowest value. Inserts are usually a little bit more than base. Short prints are quite a bit more than base and inserts, and then autos are the absolute top of the chain. So what I do is I weight the number of these cards. So to get this total points value right here, I multiply the base times 1, the inserts times 2, the short prints times 4, and the autos times 5. And then I add all of that up together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a presentation that I made because what we get into for how I start to compute the values of each of these teams is I have some pretty somewhat complex formulas to determine what I call a rookie adjustment factor and a stars adjustment factor or a star ratio, uh, which basically will account for the high value rookies on each team and then the stars on each team. The first thing that you will notice from that previous screen is that I have a value called TP plus, which is basically just a normalized value of the total points. The way that you find a normalized value, and this is similar to any stat like OPS plus or anything when you're looking at like baseball stats, is you take the individual value that you have, you divide it by the average value across the data set, and then you multiply it by 100. So for the case of the Arizona Diamondbacks, they had a TP value of 96. The average for all of the teams in in the set was 110, so the TP plus value is 96 divided by 110 times 100, which equals 88. So from there, I apply what I call a rookie adjustment factor. The purpose of this rookie adjustment factor is to basically account for the high value and the mid value rookies that are present in the data or in the card set to basically just scale everything up. Um, so the way that this is done is I go through the checklist and I look at the rookies for each team, and then I sort them into high value rookies, mid value rookies, and low value rookies. Low value rookies we ignore, but we count the high value rookies and the mid value rookies for the base sets, the insert sets, the short print sets, and the auto sets, and total them up. Then you use that to find the RAF value, the rookie adjustment factor. And the way that is calculated is you take the RAF base plus 2 times the RAF insert value plus 4 times the RAF short print value plus 5 times the RAF auto value. That's basically just weighting each of the sets in the same way that I weighted them for the total points. But if you're looking at how to calculate, say, the RAF base, we are weighting the high value rookies versus the mid value rookies. So the way you calculate this RAF base value is you multiply 2 times the number of high value rookies plus the number of mid value rookies. And then that's how you get RAF base. And then you just repeat that process for the inserts and the short prints and the autos to then total up your RAF value. From there, what you do is you get to find your RAF plus value that's right here. That's just the same normalization equation that we did before. Uh, After I have my RAF plus value, I work to compute uh, an SRAF plus value, which stands for Scaled Rookie Adjustment Factor. The reason I do this is because if you look at the min RAF plus value and the max RAF plus value, they are gigantic. And if you later on we're going to multiply these normalized values to the TP value to make everything adjusted, if you were to use the original RAF plus values, you would end up with things where the Baltimore Orioles end up costing like $200 and everything else costs like five, which is really out of whack for all of those. So the SRAF plus value basically scales it to a set minimum value that you want your RAF plus to be and steps it up to a set maximum value. So for my process, I set a minimum of 50 for the RAF for the SRAF plus value and a maximum of 150 for the SRAF plus value. So to calculate SRAF plus, you first need to find the step value, which is just the max RAF plus minus the minimum RAF plus, then divided by the scale that you want to change it to. So in this case, it's divided by 100. Um, and then to calculate the SRAF plus value, you take whatever your minimum value would be. So in this case, it'd be 50, and then you add that to the this RAF plus value minus the minimum RAF plus value divided by the step value. So to just take you through an example using the Arizona Diamondbacks, to calculate RAF, you go through, you multiply this, you calculate the base value first, where it's high times 2 plus the mid number right here. And then for the inserts, you multiply 1 times 2, and this is 0, and then you multiply that entire amount by 2. For the short prints, high times 2 plus the mid, multiply everything by 4. And then for the autos, high times 2 plus the mid, multiply everything by 5. So you take all these values, you add them up, you get 6 plus 4 plus 28 plus 70. That gets you 108 for RAF. Then, to calculate the RAF plus value, you take your 108 divided by the average RAF plus across all of the teams, which ended up being 45.43, and multiply that by 100, and you get 238. This is a rounded value. It's not exactly 238, but it's just rounded up. Then to calculate your step value, it's 511 minus 1 divided by the max value for the SRAF plus value, which is 150, minus the minimum value, which is 50. So that ends up being 510 divided by 100, which gets you 5.1. And then to calculate SRAF plus, it's the minimum SRAF plus value, 50, plus the RAF plus value of the given team minus the minimum divided by the step value. And in this case, it gets you 96.47, which when you round gives you an SRAF plus of 96. The second factor that I put together to help adjust the total points value is the STARS Hall of Fame adjustment factor, or the STAR ratio. This is calculated in a fairly similar way to the RAF value. Uh, so to get the star ratio, it's the same sort of formula where you have this base value plus 2 times the insert value plus 4 times the short print value plus 5 times the auto value. The difference is how you calculate these ones. So instead of giving a value to each one, the way that this is calculated is you want a ratio of the number of stars or Hall of Fame players to the overall data set. It's up to you to determine who's a star versus and a Hall of Famer versus who isn't. So I use my best judgment, decide that for each team, and then count them all up for each one. Uh, so to calculate the star ratio, it's basically the base yes number divided by the total of everything. And then you just repeat the formula across everything else. And then to get this SR plus value, it's the same normalization thing where you take the SR value divided by the average and multiply it by 100. The step formula is exactly the same as the RAF value where you take the maximum value you have minus the minimum value you have and then divide it by the max that you want minus the minimum that you want. Same deal, 50 to 150, so it's 100. And then SSR plus is the exact same formula as, and this stands for scaled star ratio. It's the exact same formula as for the scaled rookie adjustment factor, where you take the minimum and then you add the value here subtracted by the minimum divided by the step. Going through the example for the Diamondbacks again, you've got the base here. To get the base value for SR, it's 2 divided by 8. So plus 2 times 1 divided by 1. 3 divided by 4 multiplied by 4. 7 divided by 14 multiplied by 5. And you eventually get this 7.75 value. To calculate SR plus, it's 7.75 divided by the average value, which is 6.26 times 100. It's 124. The step value is 174 minus 3 divided by 100, which gets you 1.7. And then the SRAF plus value, or I apologize, this should be SSR plus value is equal to 50 plus 124 minus 3 divided by 107 is equal to 121.18, which is equal to 121. Lastly, we apply all of these values that we just determined. So I do what's called a gross adjustment factor, which is this value here. That is equal to the total points multiplied by the ratio that you got from the RAF plus values. This should be SRAF plus value times the SSR plus value. These are divided by 100 because the values are in 100, but they're actually ratios. So if it's 121, it's a ratio of 1.21 multiplied times that total. So for the Arizona Diamondbacks, to get this GAF plus value, you take the value of 88, which was the total points, you multiply it by the SRAF plus value, which was 96, divided by 100, and then you multiply it by the SSR plus value, which is 121, divided by 100, and you get a number that is equal, or you get 102.22, which when you round is 102. So once you have your gross adjustment factor, the next step is to basically create a scale that allows you to uh, adjust your team price relative to how this number relates to everything else. Um, so the way you do that is you create this what I call a low value factor. This is similar to the normalization formula, it's just instead of using the average, you use the minimum. And so it's the gross adjustment factor plus value for that team divided by the minimum value in the data set, uh, subtracted by one. The reason you subtract by one is because whatever the lowest value one is essentially has a low value factor of zero. So when you apply it, it's 102 divided by the minimum, which is 5.24, minus 1, which gets you 9.46 minus 1, which is 18.46, which rounds to 18. From there, we do the same normalization to get an LVF plus value. So LVF plus is just LVF divided by the average of LVF times 100. So for this one, it's LVF plus is equal to 18 divided by 16, which is the average, times 100, which ends up with a LVF plus of 113. So the way you then apply this value to figure out your team price is first you need to come up with an average team cost here. So the average team cost is equal to the total break cost. So for this break, it was $456 minus the minimum team price. So I like to set a minimum team price so that no teams cost like $1. So usually I set it at $5. So in this case, it would be the total break cost minus 5 times the number of teams in the break divided everything is then divided by the number of teams in the break. So it's 456 minus 150 divided by 30, which ends up making the average team cost 10.2. From there, the way that you set the team price is you take this low value factor plus divide that by 100 to make it into a ratio. You multiply that times the average team cost, and then you add that to the minimum team price of $5. So for the example, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the LVF factor is 113. You divide it by 100, and then multiply it by 10.2, which is your average team cost. And then that entire value is then added to $5, which gets you 16.48. I like to have these things as an even number, so you round down and you get 16. So basically what you're doing here is you are scaling the average team cost relative to the minimum. So if the uh, average team cost, if LVF plus is 100, that is perfectly average. So you get one, and then you basically add the average team cost to the minimum. If it's higher, then it scales it up. If it's lower, it scales it down. So that is basically how you determine your initial team price. You repeat the process across all of the teams that you have to get your team prices. One thing that I like to do is I like to set a max team price just to make sure that nothing goes completely out of control. So in this case, for this break, I set the max team price at $40. But if you notice on the team pricing, you've got the Baltimore Orioles, they're at $48. So there obviously needs to be some balancing. Uh, the other reason I like to have sort of a balancing column and kind of play things by ear and adjust prices here is one thing that these formulas don't do is they do not account for the superstars or the like super rookies, the guys that win like rookie of the year. So with the Diamondbacks have Corbin Carroll, who was the Rookie of the Year for 2023, but we're sitting here charging $16 for their team price, which seems a little low to me. So using the balancing column kind of allows you to adjust things. Another example is you look at the Los Angeles Angels, they're at $17 a player, even though they have Shohei Ohtani, the obviously the largest chase card of the non-rookies. And so I use this balancing sheet or this balancing column to basically just kind of tweak some of the prices that seem a little out of whack. Um, so you'll notice I subtract $8 from the Orioles to get it to the maximum. Those $8 then need to be redistributed across. I distributed all of those eight to the Angels, but you look at it, the Mets seem a little high, the Yankees seem a little high, the Braves seem a little high at 30, the Red Sox seem a little high at 30. So it allows you to pull some money around and kind of move it around. Um, to just make a little bit more balanced uh, final price column. But it's entirely up to you uh, how you balance things. You can not balance them at all, just use this original team pricing. Um, but once again, when you're kind of setting these prices, it's entirely however you want to do it. Some people do it by feel. I just wanted to provide something that was a little bit more structured and data driven. And so that's the method that I use to set a team price. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, or you can, and I will try and get back to you. Um, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any interest in joining any of the team breaks that we do, or if you would like to participate just in a fun baseball card community, please join the Discord. I will link it down below. Um, if you would like to run through this whole process yourself, I will also provide a link to a blank version of this spreadsheet that I have. I hope you all found this video informative, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.